everybody. I'm Darla Shaw, and this is Growing Up Ridgefield. We're interviewing interesting people in town with all kind of backgrounds who grew up here. We want to capture the history of this town. And we have a wonderful couple here today. And we're going to be talking particularly about their descendancy, their Irish background, and what dating was like here, and marriage, and what happened with their family. And we have MooMoo, whose real name is Mary, but we're certainly going to talk about how she got that name, and Chip Landon, her husband. So thank you so much for both of you being here. Now, MooMoo, before we get into your roots, your Irish roots, I have never known another person named MooMoo. So I'd like you to start off and tell us how you got that name, and then just tell us how many generations back you go that you know about.
Well, Darla, I grew up on a farm here in Ridgefield, Hillscroft Farm, which was on St. John's Road, and I liked going to see the cows. My grandmother would come down in the afternoon, and I would say MooMoo, and she ended up calling me MooMoo because of going down to see the cows every day. So that's how I got the name. It has stuck for 76 years.
Wow.
And some people say, you know, MooMoo, I can't call you. It's very difficult to call you MooMoo, but after time, it sticks, and I'm Grandma MooMoo, Aunt MooMoo.
I love that. It works. It definitely
does. It
works.
has worked. It has worked.
Now, tell us how far back you can go with your Irish roots.
Well, my grandmother.
Okay.
On my father's side, Mary Fahey Venus, who was the eldest of 10 children. She grew up in County Waterford, Kilnafran, Ireland, and she, like I said, she was the oldest of 10 children. She came to America when she was 13 years old and went to live with her with her Aunt Mary, and she took up seamstressing, and she became a seamstress. She was the seamstress for Jenny Jerome, who was Winston Churchill's mother.
Wow, that's something.
So she came, like I said, and that was in 1984, she came to America. In 1894, she ended up marrying my grandfather, Charles Venus, who they lived in New York for Brooklyn, New York for 8 years, and had 4 children there. And then came to Ridgefield and had 5 more.
Okay.
My father being the youngest of the 9, Richard Venus.
And the most famous. I don't think there's anyone in town that is better known than Dick Venus. Okay, Chip, tell us a little bit about your background. Now, I know you weren't born here. You didn't come here till 10th grade. Oh, and first of all, how'd you get the name Chip?
Well, of course, you have nothing to do with your name. Your parents give it to you. So I was a chip off the old block. But I was named after my uncle, my father's younger brother by 9 years. He was in the Merchant Marine, and he ended up having appendicitis, passed away. So I was named after him, Daniel Albert. So my parents also came from Brooklyn and born in Troy, New York, which was the birthplace of Uncle Sam, as well as Chip Landon.
Yeah.
And then we went to Massachusetts. My dad worked for Goodyear. And then by the grace of God, I came to Ridgefield, Connecticut, and met the love of my life.
Great.
Wonderful girl.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, what a tribute. And right here on St. Patrick's Day, the wearing of the green, the shamrocks, the love, and you can sense it in your home. And that's why we're doing this, in your home. I think this is so special. Tell us, MooMoo, about your father, because he was such a mainstay. There's even a highway in town named after him.
Yes, and the old high school was also named after him, the Richard E. Venus Memorial Building. So he was a wonderful man, a very energetic person, busy all the time. Loved history, and is a part of history. He had a paper route at age 9, and at age 13 he had 2 boys working with him.
Wow, an entrepreneur.
Yes. He worked for Conklin Farms down here on North Street, and he, after that, worked as a superintendent on Hillscroft Farm, where I was born, and my sister and my brother, Liz and Richard. From there he became postmaster. He was a postmaster from 1971 to...
No, probably
what
about
was it?
1965
Oh,
to 1985.
Right.
Okay.
And for 20 years, longest serving postmaster. Loved his job, loved, helping people. People used to write Santa Claus, and he would answer the letters that the kids had written.
Oh my goodness.
And whatever he could do to please people, he did. That's the kind of guy he was.
And if I might interject, I remember going over to MooMoo's house around Christmas time, and he'd be sitting in his chair, puffing on his pipe, which would encircle up the light, and he would have a stack of letters, like so forth, and he would go over those letters and correct them. They were undeliverable, so he would correct them so that they would get delivered. I mean, it was amazing. A lot of them would come in, Chip Landon, Ridgefield, Connecticut, no address, and he'd know where they lived and put the address down, and they all got delivered.
Of course,
Amazing.
it was a smaller town then.
Yes.
When I grew up, there was 6,000 people. Now there's 25,000. So.
But just such a service to the community. And I remember as a new teacher that when new teachers came into the school system, we all got on a bus and he would take us around town. And he wanted to make certain that if we were going to teach the students, we better know our history. And when I look at Facebook or any of the social media, there are still so many writings from him. He was such a prolific writer. Now, did he have a college education? What was his education?
High school. He was just interested. He loved people, and he loved writing about people. And his columns, Jack Sanders still, shows his columns. 388 columns he wrote.
365.
I thought it was 388.
365, one for every day of the year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and he did this every year.
He did it once a week for the press, but he did 365 of them, and that was his final number.
And there's such a legacy because I still read them. And so much of what I do as a volunteer for the Historical Society, I would not be able to do without his research and work and love of this town. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Now, how about your mom? What did she do?
No, my mom she basically was a homemaker. My father did have a dairy, he delivered milk, and my mom did the billing for that. And then she worked for Craig's Jewelry Store when we got older.
Wow.
And after that, she went to Reed's and was a bookkeeper at Reed's department store in Danbury. So, but basically, she was the homemaker.
But she still was out there in merchandising, which I think was good because that wasn't always happening. So I give her a lot of credit. Yeah, Chip?
Well, she was chairman of the Democratic Town Committee.
She was. She was very interested in politics. My father was a selectman. So they were very involved in the Democratic Town Committee and the party itself. So that's very true.
No, and that, again, women were not involved in a lot of politics at that time, and to cheer up basically a committee of men. That's very commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chip, you want to tell us about, your family anymore, what they did, and how you got to Ridgefield?
Well, my dad worked for Goodyear, as I mentioned, for 20 years, and took an early retirement and tried to start a business of his own, and that didn't pan out. So when he got a job, his territory was down in southern Connecticut and New Jersey and New York, so we moved to Ridgefield. So that's,
Okay.
at that time of, being a senior in high school, it wasn't like I was involved in Little League, of which he was very involved in Wellesley, youth sports, Little League, and bowled, and, then the whole 9 yards. But when we came here, we were kind of past that. My sister had gone to college, so it was just the three of us.
Right.
And, that's all she wrote.
Well, you mentioned how you met the love of your life.
I did.
Here at So, just tell us, what was the love story like? This is powerful.
Here's how it started. I remember being in the back of the high school, Venus building, and I think you had just gone by maybe when your brother's convertible. And I said to some of the people I was with, "Who's that?" And they said, "MooMoo Venus." And I said, "What? What is a MooMoo Venus?" But, really, growing up in Ridgefield, there wasn't a lot to do. And after school, I played football and baseball, and I used to write the news articles for baseball, football, and basketball. So I wasn't around during basketball, but when MooMoo was working at Craig's with her mom, I used to go and just hang around Craig's, and Mr. Craig couldn't care less if I was there, and I really didn't do much of anything except hang around the store and.
Well, I was polishing silver or
She was
crystal.
working, and
Yeah.
it's still that way today. Boom will be working there, and I'll be sitting watching television.
Yeah.
Some things don't change.
Yeah. So, was she your first love?
I would have to say yes. I maybe dated one or two
Right.
girls, not for a long time, but.
But you knew right away when that convertible went by that this was going to be
Perhaps.
special.
Perhaps.
Now, I remember talking about like the Danbury Fair, and what were some of, like you said, there wasn't a lot to do, but you did find things when you were dating and in town when you were young. What did you do?
Well, we used to go to the races on Saturday night at where the mall is now. And,
Stock car races, of which there were a couple of Andy Montanari and Jimmy Leary, and used to race at the track.
Paul Baker was the announcer.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are big names
Yeah.
back in race days. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we did that. We had parties. We used to have victory parties after every football game, win or lose. We had victory parties.
With
At
the
houses.
big fire bonfires and all.
Well, that was before. That would be before the games.
Oh, okay.
These were house parties after.
Oh,
after
okay.
Yeah, and we danced. We had CYO at St. Mary's, so that was a very active organization where kids got together. We had done I think 3 plays with CYO, and
Do you remember any of the plays you did?
Bye Bye Birdie was one of them.
Okay.
And and they would take a good 3 to 4 months in order to put the production on, and a lot of time was involved with that. So that was fun to do. What else did we do? We just kind of hung out.
Drive around.
Driving around.
Did you go to
We'd
any
be in front of-
movies? Were there
We go
movies?
to the movies. Yes, we go to the
Yeah.
movies. We hang out in front of squashes.
Oh, that was the hangout back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Get a nickel coke, but they used to have dances at the Elk Lodge in Danbury.
Yeah.
And some of the local bands from Ridgefield would play there, so you'd go and support them and so on and so forth. We used to go to A&W, root beer,
Yeah.
go there and get a Mama Burger, Papa Burger. Go to Val's. Val's used to be the pre-runner of McDonald's. You get a 15-cent
Oh.
hamburger,
Yeah.
10 cents for fries.
It was simple.
The good old days.
But it was memorable.
Oh,
you know, it was just a whole different time. But I'm glad we all remember those places and those times and all. Okay, so you got through high school. Where did you both go after that? I mean, did you get married right away? What jobs? Did you go to college?
I went to Danbury Hospital School of Radiology, and I'm a registered X-ray technician. I worked at Ridgefield Primary Care. Well, it used to be Dr. Safford and Dr. Nelligan. Then the Danbury Hospital bought that practice out, and I was with them for 35 years.
Okay.
And has been retired for 10 years. And then we had our family. We got married in 1970, and we had our first daughter, Jennifer, at 1972.
Now, you got married at St. Mary's?
At St. Mary's.
And where was your reception?
It was at the Red Lion.
Oh, okay. I remember the Red Lion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And did you go to Ireland for your honeymoon?
No, wishful thinking, but no, haven't been there yet. We had planned on going a couple of years ago. My niece is this Irish step dancer.
Oh.
And Olivia, and she was going to compete in Ireland, and then COVID came.
Right.
So that put the kibosh on that.
Right. Now, how about you, Chip? What did you do after high school? You were quite an athlete, it seems.
Well, certainly in my mind, absolutely.
And your mind
Yes.
as well, too, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I had dreams of being a doctor, so I went to the University of Miami, and my best claim to fame down there is I batted .333 on the freshman baseball team. I was up once, I got one hit, three times, one hit, so I was .333. And then I thought I'd try my education at WestCon. Again, I played baseball, but I was a member of the first WestCon baseball team, and we were inducted into the WestCon Hall of Fame there. So as a team member, I'm in the Hall of Fame. And then when we were getting married, I wasn't working, and I think my father-in-law thought it would be a good idea if I was. So,
Particularly where he had 5 and 6 jobs at a time.
Yes.
So he got me into the post office. So I worked there for 34 years.
At the Ridgefield or Danbury?
I was in Danbury, yes.
Oh, in Danbury.
Yes, as a supervisor there. And then after 34 years, I went to work with one of my best friends, Ed McGee at New England Uniform. Worked there 17 years. So for 50 years, I was in a post office almost every day.
Right.
But
right.
I think I'm okay, so.
Okay, so you had good ties between Danbury and Ridgefield.
Oh, yes.
Now, as I said, the first 2 women that I talked to had a heritage, an Italian heritage, and they said that they were very close to the Irish in town, that they were their best friends. They learned English from them. Mm-hmm. So just tell me, do you remember any relationships with the, Italian women or men in town, or how they differed from you in their culture, or?
Well, I like their food much better than the Irish food.
So the Irish are known for their cooking?
I don't think so.
No?
Well, if you like fish.
Okay.
Which it's okay, some fish, but they fish and
Lamb.
Lamb doesn't agree with me, but I think Italian cooking. There's nothing better than Italian cooking.
Now they had all these big gardens too. Where
Gardens.
They had did you have all these big gardens?
Yes, when we lived on the farm, my father, as a superintendent there, it wasn't only just a dairy farm, it was also gardens galore. Mrs. Vanetton, Dr. Vanetton's wife, loved flowers, so there were flower beds everywhere, and beautiful flower gardens.
Right.
And I didn't do, when they moved from Hillscroft on St. John's Road up to High Ridge. And when they moved to High Ridge, my father was also the superintendent there as well. and he had huge garden, vegetable garden and flower gardens. So I did a lot of the weeding. A lot of the weeding.
That's necessary too.
Exactly.
That's very necessary. No, I just thought it was so interesting talking to the women with the Italian heritage, how they said that their parents and grandparents relied so much on the Irish to teach them English.
Well,
that just socializing with them made such a difference. And they always said that, because particularly the Irish women could speak English, they got better jobs than they did. And they realized that. But that's why they were inspired by talking and being friends with you to move up the ladder and learn English. And they certainly did, just the way that your family did, right?
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
That was one thing I think that brought a lot of the Irish to this country, is being able to speak the language.
Right.
They were easier to get jobs.
What, did your relatives come during the Great Potato Famine that time?
They came in the late 1890s, early
Right.
1900s.
Yeah.
And they all, they all got along. They were very family orientated.
Right.
They got together. My great aunts would all get together on a Friday night and play cards. But before they played cards, they had to say the rosary.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
that made a difference in who won, right?
Absolutely. So, very religious, very family orientated, and just good people.
Right. Now tell us about your children. What are they doing?
Well,
did they go through the Ridgefield schools?
They did. Both of them went through the Ridgefield school system. Jennifer graduated from Ridgefield. Well, she graduated from two schools. She went to Vermont for her first year, and then she came back to WestCon, and it was a 2-year school that she went to in Vermont, and then she came back to Ridgefield and went to WestCon and finished and got her degree there. Our son Jason went to Villanova and got his degree there. He works in a marketing firm in a portfolio in Darien, and our daughter works at her church as a secretary.
Okay, and you have grandchildren.
And we have 6 grandsons, wonderful grandsons. We're
all grandsons,
all boys,
okay,
and they're wonderful, from age 17 down to 2.
That's great. Unless you have anything else to say, what I'd like to finish with is, you've lived here all your life.
I have.
And you've lived here most of your life. What is there so special that you're still here that you can say about Ridgefield?
Well, it's home. My father never moved. He was born on Main Street, and they never moved. Just our friendship with our friends that are still here, the townies, and even people that I went to school with in St. Mary's. Still very, very good friends all these years. Maybe don't see them that often, but just the camaraderie of all the natives that are still here.
Yeah. What would you add, Chip?
My father-in-law used to say, Ridgefield is so nice, so special. I don't know why anybody ever moved from there. And, of course, MooMoo was never going to move. So I don't think I ever asked you to move. I mean, I'm very happy here, and I know my way around now. But I've delivered newspapers in the morning here. I've delivered ice cream. I've delivered mail. I delivered mail to Alice Paul on Branchville Road.
Did you ever meet her?
I never had that privilege, no.
Oh, that's... Any other people that you delivered mail to that were famous that we'd heard of?
Jeepers. I can't really think of anybody. Oh, I did deliver newspapers to Godfrey Cambridge.
Okay.
when he lived on Buck Hill.
Right.
And geez, he used to have me go up on his driveway, go into his little screened-in area, and throw the newspaper, excuse me, in there. And one time I went in there, and there was a dark figure there smoking a cigarette, and I said, "Holy cow!" I said, I don't know what's going on here, because he did have some trouble with the town, and
He
I
certainly
hope
did.
they didn't think it was me. I'm just a paper boy. But it's changed so much since when I first moved here. MooMoo and I used to drive around, and she'd be waving about every other car, of which there weren't many. But I said, "Who are these people?" She goes, "They're my relatives."
I love that. Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And geez, when I got there, you had to be careful what you said about people, because
Everybody
it
was related.
somewhere or another, somewhere down the line. So
You learn soon about that. Yeah.
but it's just a nice town, and of course, being the only land battle in the Revolutionary War,
Right.
being in Ridgefield, I like to throw that out every once in a while as
And that's
trivia
important.
question.
People don't know that. Right.
Absolutely. I think it was on Jeopardy one time, was it?
Yes, it was a question.
Might
Yeah,
have been.
Yeah.
But so our next move is going to be across the street.
That's the cemetery.
So
Well, it's going to be quite a while, we hope, and I want to thank you two. You two are such a charming couple, and you were certainly meant to be together since high school.
Oh,
and I
thank
just
you.
want to, thank you so much for
Thank you,
meeting
Darla.
with me and sharing your beautiful story.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much for watching our program. I hope you learned a great deal about town from our guests, MooMoo and Chip Landon. Now, if you grew up in Ridgefield and you're interested in talking to me as well and sharing your story, let the Ridgefield Historical Society know. And keep watching for our interviews online, from the website, and wherever you can get them. Thank you so much.